Hey everybody, it's me, Damon Smash. Today we're going to be watching Funny Kid tests and ready, let's go.
Tests are always
Skip this part.
because of a thing. Since this kid didn't think too much about it. This is why he said that it was right there, drawing a circle around the letter instead of finding the right number.
X.
We think that this student deserves
here
a
it
good
is,
grade.
X.
He did find the letter X after all. What ended in 1896? People say that you can't know where you're going until you know where you've been. We know that it is important to understand why tragic events happened and to make sure that we learn from it and don't make these mistakes again. But there is no reason why we would need to know all the dates to really make a change in history. This teacher asked a ridiculous question. What ended in 1896? There are so many things that ended in this year that too many answers were possible. But this student chose the most obvious one just by looking at the question. If there is something that
I told you
1895. It is the year 1895.
I think
no one can argue with that.
Lift them out, wait. No.
If you want to watch just one more video, you browse
It's not the end.
Which one is bigger? We all remember this question from our mathematics class, and it was not one of the most difficult ones to answer. The greater than and lesser than symbols were easy to use. The smallest side of the arrow was pointing to the smallest number. Things became a little more complicated with decimal numbers, but we were ready to face this new challenge. Unfortunately, it seems like this kid thought that he was in English class and mistook them for Latin quotation marks quoting the word or. Answering a question in mathematics has never been so easy. He just wrote the word or everywhere. This is the proof that when the answer is too easy to find, there is probably a trick somewhere. The candy bars. Mathematics could be all about simple additions and subtractions, but our teachers decided to make it a little funnier by telling us stories about characters buying and giving away things. We don't think that it made the test more interesting in any way, but at least we understood how to use mathematics in our everyday lives. Bob's problems were no different than any others. Bob has 36 candy bars. He eats 29. What does he have now? But if you're the kind of kid who asks themselves too many questions, you would understand that this little story is ridiculous. If there is one thing that he can have, it is diabetes. Bob has diabetes. Show your thinking. Every kid knows that teachers love to understand how we solved our problems. Unfortunately, it forces us all to think the same way, even though there could be many ways to find the answer. It also makes us think too much when a simple question could have been way less complicated. And as long as we are right, why would anyone care about how we solve the problem? No grown-up does that when the answer is really easy to find. This is probably why this kid decided to make fun of the teacher. He was asked, show your thinking, and instead of writing a useless equation, he decided to draw himself thinking. We think that this student deserves bonus points for making his teacher laugh. Why are there rings on Saturn? For once, this is an interesting question, and we will give you the right answer. The rings originated from a small moon or passing comets that were torn to shreds by the planet's gravity. It formed too close to Saturn and became rings instead. There are still many questions left unanswered, but this is the best theory that astronomers came up with, and this is what this student was supposed to write. But he didn't like being serious. This is why this kid decided to try something funnier instead. Inspired by his favorite singer, he said that God likes it, so he put a ring on it. It seems like the teacher liked the joke because he replied that Saturn is not a single lady. Cause and effect. School isn't only about mathematical equations that you'll never use in your entire life and grammar rules to learn by heart. Sometimes it is also about understanding what will happen if you do something. This time, the teacher probably wanted their students to say that Tony will become a better pianist if he practices the piano 20 minutes every day. But this is not what is happening in the mind of a bully. Instead, this kid said that it would make him a big nerd. And you know what? There is nothing wrong with it. If being good at something means that you're a nerd, we'll take that as a compliment. The teacher should pay attention to this little bully. We don't know what he'll be saying to the other kids in class. In which state? At school, we learn what a homophone is. It is words that have the same pronunciation but different meanings or spellings. As we can see, this kid is taking a test in science class. But he is probably even worse in English when we see the mistake that he made. When asked, in which state do the particles show the most movement, he answered, California, and even made a mistake in the name of the American state. Then, when asked, in which state do the particles show the least movement, he wrote, New Jersey, making another mistake in the name.
It's not wrong,
we don't know what makes him think that particles are slower in this state, but this time, we would like to know his thinking. Where is the question? Sometimes we would like to tell the whole world that we just can't. Everyone woke up one day not wanting to get out of bed, and going to school to take a test is the last thing that could motivate us to make any efforts. We know that no matter how hard we studied, the teacher is going to ask us only about the things that we don't understand. This student managed to go to school to take the test, but when he realized that he couldn't understand the question, he knew that he was not even in the mood to see it. This is why he just decided to white out the question that he didn't want to answer. We wish that we could do the same thing in life when our mother asks us to do chores at home. We just can't. The geometric shapes. Why do we have to learn anything about geometric shapes? Knowing that this thing is called a parallelogram is useless when you know that you can call it a rectangle that is sort of falling on one side. It seems like this student studied harder than us because he was able to name almost every shape, including the pentagon and the rhombus. But when he saw this trapezoid, he did what any grown-up would do when they see a geometric shape that they don't know. He used an example to describe it the best way he could. And you know what? As long as people can understand you, there is nothing wrong with forgetting the name of a geometric shape sometimes. Who do you want to be? Every little kid has a hero and wants to be just like them. These role models inspire them to become someone great, and their story is the proof that everyone can make their dreams come true if they work hard. Michael Jordan is a great basketball player that we can use as an inspiration, but it seems like this child knew nothing about him except the way he looks. When the teacher asked the kid how he was going to achieve his dreams, he said that he was going to get bigger, shave his head, and be black. We hope that this kid will hear more about Michael Jordan's story if he wants to have what it takes to become a professional athlete. Problems and solutions. Understanding a trigonometric circle and learning by heart all the chemical elements of the periodic table is not something that you will have to remember when you grow up, unless you want to study science. But school is also about learning real-life problems and finding solutions on your own. A teacher asked their young students what they would do if they fell on the playground and scratched their knee, and one of the students was tougher than the other kids. He simply said that he would get up and deal with it. Someone should tell him about infections because no matter how cool he looks when he gets back up, it won't stop bacteria from infecting him. The walrus. As long as we understand basic mathematics, most of us won't really need most of the things that we learn in class. But this kid knows what's important. Saving the planet. And it seems like it was the right time to do it when he was in class. He wasn't even done writing numbers in his book when he decided to draw a walrus over it instead. He explained that the walrus has lost his home due to global warming and chose to reside in his math book. He then apologized for any inconvenience caused on his behalf. This kid isn't wrong after all. Learning algebra will be useless for most of us if there is no life on Earth anymore in the following years. Petting the dog. In elementary school, we all had to fill the blanks to complete a sentence. The sentences were usually really simple, like, the man can run, or Sophie ate a cookie. But a teacher wrote something a little more inappropriate in a test. Most children simply completed the sentence without asking any questions because they trust their teacher. But this kid wouldn't let this happen. There was a picture of a man hitting a dog with a newspaper, and the student was shocked to see that. This is why, instead of writing what he saw, he wrote what he wanted to see. The man pet the dog. He also had a little lesson to teach his class. You should not hit dogs. Name 6 animals. This question seems to be really simple, but we have to admit that we would have a hard time answering.
Do you get it? Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
Name 6 animals which live specifically in the Arctic. Our first guess would be penguins, but many of us would be surprised to know that they live on the Antarctic coastline on the other side of the world. This kid was smarter than us and knew that polar bears and seals live in the Arctic, but he didn't remember the name of any other animal, so he added 1 polar bear and 3 other seals for a total of 6. This kid might be good in mathematics, but we don't think that his science teacher is really impressed. Is Steve speeding? Every kid who ever went to school asked themselves the question, what is this for? Most of the things we learn in high school will never be useful during the rest of our lives, and it seems like our teachers just want to make us suffer from all these equations.
Yeah.
We should learn about cooking, finances, and laws instead, but our teachers seem to think that some things are more important. This time, they told the story of Steve, who was driving a car.
Staying home and watching
They said that he was traveling at 60 feet per second when the limit was 40 miles per hour, and asked if he was speeding. It might look like something that we need to know in our everyday lives as grown-ups, but the right thing to do is much simpler. Just look at the speedometer. The risk. This is one of the most famous questions that many teachers have been asked in philosophy class, and there is one surprising way to answer this. Many people would think about reading books on the subject, quoting the most important philosopher in history, and writing 3 pages on this topic. But there is only one way to really know what risk is, and it is to experience it. This is why the best answer to this question is simply this. We clearly understand why this student got a point for his answer. Many of us would have never thought about this. The giraffe. After seeing so many kids who don't know the right answer to a question, many of us would like to give up.
God.
Tests
Oh,
are
this is
stressful,
not about
and
school.
we feel like we just forced
Never
too
mind.
much information into our brains, only to throw it up on a piece of paper and never remember it again. This is why we hope that our teachers understand that sometimes we have much more important things to care about, and we can't study for 25 hours every day. But instead of complaining, this student had another idea to get a better grade. He drew a picture of a funny giraffe and wrote, "Please note, if I made any mistakes in this test, perhaps this picture of a giraffe will convince you otherwise." And guess what? The teacher gave him a bonus point on this test. We think that we'll be trying this one too. Describe school. Most of the kids on this list shared the same feeling about school. If there is one thing that we all love, it is a lunch break. But many of those who cannot sit with their friends or the popular kids can't wait for the break to be over. We have to admit that school isn't for everyone. So when the teacher asked a kid to describe the school in one word, he gave the perfect answer. Hell.
Yep.
When I grow up. This one deserves an
School is hell. That kid was right. That kid was definitely right.
explanation, so we'll show it right now. When a teacher asked a
Sorry if
student
I
what
cussed.
she wanted to be when she grows up, this girl drew a picture of her mother on a stage. Even though there is nothing wrong with this job, this is not something a child should wish to do at such a young age. This is why the mother had to explain this drawing. She worked at Home Depot, and during the blizzard, there was only one shovel left. People were fighting over who would get it and offering money. It is not a pole, but a shovel. And we bet that this mother will pay more attention to what her daughter is drawing next time. Did you answer anything funny during a
it's a
test when you were at
shovel,
school?
not a
Don't be shy to
pole.
tell us what it was in the comment section below. And that's it for 20 funniest kid test answers. For more stories like this, don't forget to watch 10 toys that weren't supposed to be.
Thanks everybody
For
for
kids.
watching. Thanks everybody for watching. Leave a like, subscribe down below, and hope you have a good day. See ya. Peace.